ഹോളിവുഡിൽ സാന്നിധ്യം അറിയിച്ച മലയാളികൾ നിരവധിയാണ്. അത്തരത്തിലൊരു വ്യക്തിയാണ് കൊച്ചിക്കാരനായ സുജിത് വർഗീസ്. കനേഡിയൻ സിനിമകളിലൂടെയും നെറ്റ്ഫ്ലിക്സ് സീരീസുകളിലൂടെയുമാണ് അദ്ദേഹം മലയാളികൾക്ക് സുപരിചിതനായത്. ഓർഫൻ, മിഷൻ ടു മാർസ് തുടങ്ങിയ സിനിമകളിൽ ശ്രദ്ധേയമായ വേഷങ്ങൾ ചെയ്ത അദ്ദേഹം തിരക്കഥാകൃത്തും സംവിധായകനുമാണ്. തന്റെ ഹോളിവുഡ് സിനിമാ ജീവിതത്തെക്കുറിച്ചും മലയാള സിനിമയെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള കാഴ്ചപ്പാടുകളും അദ്ദേഹം നമ്മളോട് പങ്കുവയ്ക്കും. I would like to start with your show, Kim's Convenience, and also your character, Mr. Sanjumit, who plays cards with him and who owns an Indian restaurant. So, how is shooting in the time of COVID going like?
Well, we just started filming season 5 at the second week of September. Normally, we would have started in May, but because of COVID, everything was postponed. And the new way of filming now is very different because of what we call the COVID protocols. So, for example, everybody's got a mask. All the crew have face shields. Everybody on the crew has their own entrance to the studio. The cast have their separate entrance. And even in traveling through the studio, the route is separate for crew and for cast. So we never cross. And you know, each, the crew also have their own zones. So certain crew members can't go onto the set. For example, the person who handles the wardrobe takes it from storage and brings it to the dressing room, but she can't go onto the actual set. There's a person who's on set who manages the wardrobe, and she can't go backstage. So there's real strict rules about how they operate. In a usual TV show, the director and the actors work out how the scene is going to be done. And then they call the camera crew and everybody else. Everybody does their setup while we wait. Now everybody comes on and we leave. Even the director leaves. And the director can't come back on to the set while we're filming. So he has to talk to the actors over a public address system. You know, so the whole thing is very, very different. They've had to spend a lot of money to upgrade the whole shooting system to COVID protocols. And that tells you that this is not a temporary thing. This is a new normal. It's a permanent change in how filming is being done. That said, you know, it's still our show, and it's still, we still get to do the same type of, you know, work that we did before, but how we do it is very different.
So talking about the show, it was like it was like received by, though it is like purely Canadian in nature, it was accepted like almost worldwide. It was premiered on, I think the second season was premiered on Netflix, right? And then
no, from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning. But right now it's like you might have got like a lot of receptance, like you have got a lot of responses from the people worldwide about the Kim's Convenience, about it's like a Korean family who was in Canada, and of course your character is an Indian who owns an Indian restaurant. So how do you think about the responses you get?
Well, when the show began, I thought it was, I didn't think it would be popular outside the city of Toronto. Forget, you know, even the rest of Canada, I didn't think would understand the show, because it is such a specifically Toronto story. You know, the Korean corner store is very common in Toronto. The Korean family-owned corner store is very common in Toronto, but it's not common in other parts of Canada like it is here. Here, they even have their own business association, and you know, it's almost like I don't know what the equivalent would be in India. You know, Starbucks, or you know, it's almost like a Kentucky Fried Chicken. Every street corner has a Korean family-run corner store in the city of Toronto. So with that, and plus, you know, the diverse characters, Mr. Mehta, all the rest. I really felt it was a love letter to Toronto, but I didn't think it would be popular in the rest of Canada. It was a #1 show in Canada. And then when it went on to Netflix, it was picked up worldwide by not just Netflix US and Netflix UK, but Netflix India, Netflix Australia, Netflix Indonesia, and all these places. And I get fan tweets and fan mail sent to me, and it's always how they relate to the show, even though their particular experience in Indonesia isn't what it is in Toronto, yet they still understand the characters, they still recognize all these people, they recognize the Korean family like their own family, even though they're not Korean. And I think it's quite remarkable that a story that is so specific to a particular place. In fact, I live in Toronto, and I live about 4 blocks from where the outside of the store actually is. And, you know, that I know that neighborhood. It's very unique neighborhood, and not, you know, people in Toronto, even the people in the Toronto suburbs wouldn't know it. And yet the whole world seems to have embraced this particular and unique family and unique story as their own. And I think that's amazing.
I'm going to come to the fan base again. Before that, I would like to get to know much more personal about you. I know that you hail from a family of doctors, and but born and brought up in Canada. So you yourself have said, like in your previous interviews, like it was a kind of tension, not following your father's footsteps. You hold a double major in drama. So how was your journey actually to be an international actor? How did you carve out an actor, a filmmaker, a screenwriter out of you?
Well, I did. I mean, I think that at a young age, and you know, I'm old now, and I'm sort of the pioneer generation of South Asian artists in Canada. And you know, when I started, like when I was in school, when I was in high school, I couldn't dream of having a career in show business in Canada. How could I? I'd never seen any brown people on TV. I didn't relate, you know, how is this even possible? And I think a lot of South Asian immigrant children have that same feeling. And so, you know, naturally we become doctors and engineers and, you know, the things that are expected of us. I think what happened with me was, first of all, I grew up in a small city. My father was a doctor, as you said. He came to Canada to become a neurosurgeon. He was an MD in India. And at that time, and this is going back many, many years, the only place in Canada that would accept a Malayali Indian doctor to train in neurosurgery was the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon, which is in the middle of nowhere. And it's a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful city. I'm very proud to be from there, but you've never heard of it. And yet they were the ones who accepted my father to train. And as a result, we were the only family. You know, we were the only Indian people. I mean, there were other Malayalis in town, but you know, it was a very, very small group. So that as a result, I was more, you know, people who have come since then ended up sort of retaining much of their Indianness in the later generations of immigrants than I did, because I didn't have any larger Indo-Canadian or South Asian community to be part of. So I naturally was exposed and being exposed to whatever Canadian means. But I also was expected to become a doctor, and I did, as you say, a pre-med drama double major at my university. And I think what happened was my parents recognized that while they wanted me to become a doctor, they didn't want me to do it immediately. So I was able to sort of study other things when I was in university. I studied theater, and I studied writing, and I studied, you know, many aspects of the arts. And I ended up transferring to a big American university that was famous for its theater studies. And I graduated from there, top of my class. So as soon as you graduate top of your class, Indian family is okay with that. They just didn't understand that meant that doesn't mean he's going to get a job. And but I was very lucky when I started out. I came to Toronto to do my graduate degree in film. I was the first minority to study in film at the graduate level. In fact, I was the first person to study in film at the graduate level in Canada. And after I started there, I began as a screenwriter, and I sold my first script to CBC, which is our big public broadcaster, while I was still in graduate school. And so I had some success early on. And I think my parents, kind of thought, oh, well, this is fine. As long as he's successful or working anyway, we're okay with it. And I had fair enough success in my early years that I think they were okay. But my father, when I turned 30, he said, because he always wanted me to be a heart surgeon. He was a brain surgeon. He wanted me to be a heart surgeon because, in medicine, heart surgeons are the rock stars. And he turned to my mother and he said, he would just be finishing his residency now. So he still wished that I did it. But then last time I went to India, I was staying with my dad's cousin in Trivandrum. And he said to me, when your father was a boy, he wanted to be a film star. So I went, aha. So maybe he was also living a little vicariously with me. Who knows?
Okay. So talking about that, you hail from Cochin. I mean, your roots.
I was born in Cochin, but
Okay.
my family came to Canada when I was a year old. So, it's not my hometown, but it is where I was born.
Okay. So do you still have roots in Kochi? And by the way, do you speak Malayalam? Like you said, you can understand Malayalam.
Well, when I was growing up, when I was little, my parents spoke Malayalam to me, but they wanted me to answer back in English because as a baby, they wanted me to learn good English because they planned to come back to Kerala anyway. And then I would learn Malayalam. Trouble was we never came back. So I understand, dinner table talk, but I have to answer back in English. And if I watch Malayalam news or something like that, I can't follow it. It's too complicated.
So have you ever watched a Malayalam movie?
Of course.
So do you watch recent Malayalam movies? Do you observe it or?
Yeah, we get a lot of the Malayalam movies now on Amazon. Like I said, it's going both ways. Canadian content is going to Kerala, and Kerala films are on Amazon. All the
like very wide. So what do you feel about the recent Malayalam movies? Like do you have a favorite actor in the industry here in Kerala?
I really like this guy Fahad. What's his name? Fahad. Sorry?
Fahad Fazil?
Yeah. I think he's a fantastic actor.
Oh.
The thing about what I like about the Malayalam films is that the scripts are the best. I've seen other regional films. I've seen the Bollywood films, which I'm not a big fan of. I mean, I recognize what they're doing, but it's not my taste. But the Malayalam films are very good. I go to Toronto International Film Festival every year. This year I didn't go because it was only virtual, because I actually like to go to the cinema and see all the movies that I can't see otherwise. And lots of Indian films come to International Film Festival, and the Malayalam films come. And, there's this, what's this guy? Jose, I forget the director, but famous Malayalam director. He brought his last film, and it was technically superb, but the story was almost absurd by the standards. I mean, I know, like the Malayalis in the audience thought it was great because they said, that guy is exactly like my cousin. That people there are the same, and it was this crazy rural story, right? But if you're not from that particular culture, then it's a bewildering kind of experience to watch that film. And that to me is the difference in Malayalam cinema and the other cinemas, is that it's not translating outside the culture as much. And when I watch it, even I don't claim to be Malayali, but I'm more Malayali than my next door neighbor. And I know I have to bring myself, and bring sort of my cultural understanding to watching them in a way that that's asking for a lot of work to be done on the part of the audience. And if you look at an example like Kim's Convenience, you don't need to do that to watch it and appreciate it. And that's, I think, an interesting challenge, I would say, for Malayalam cinema if they want to travel. But they don't have to. Malayalam cinema is very successful in Kerala. They don't need to sell all over the world if they don't want to. I'm not saying they have to do it. I'm just saying that as an outsider watching, you can see the difference in how the story is told. And I think it's a cultural difference.
Thank you, Sugith. Thank you so much for being with us, for your valuable time. I know you're having shoot after this, right?
No. Today is a Saturday, so it's a day off.
All right. So that's great. And all the best for your Kim's Convenience. We are still eagerly waiting for more. We want more and more series on Netflix.
Well, I think you have up to season 4 to watch. And we just started filming season 5. Yeah. So that should be coming to Netflix sometime next year.
Yeah. So
and I don't know if we'll ever get it. I know it's in other countries, but Transplant was the #1 drama series in Canada, and I recur on that. And so hopefully that will come to some platform in India eventually, and that would be terrific too. So hopefully you get to see
Definitely. That. Thank you so much for your valuable time, and all the best, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Chitra.